Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is May 29th. We're doing business and social stories on the L1 show.
A little bit of collapse.
Just a small
Some
portion.
people, especially those in Washington, are probably gleefully reading this headline, right?
Looks like TikTok employees are the latest victims of the layoffs, according to a new report. Could also have something to do with the impending forced sale. It's like, all right, let's just get rid of a bunch of people. Why not?
It's the sales and marketing team, not the engineers. And boy, does it suck for the people in Texas because they got smashed by weather. And it turns out that we can't get their stuff put back together, which is weird because it seems like we have literally billions of dollars just to give away, right? I mean, if we maybe hadn't given away those billions of dollars, maybe they could go to Texas. I don't know.
We can't sleep. Houstonians still without power struggle to stay cool. I think the more exciting thing to do would be to look at all the profit and loss from the power companies for the last few years and then just be like, all right.
You guys didn't back up any? Like, you have no spare parts for any of this?
We're going to take your profits from the last few years. We're going to spend them federally to try to fix this stuff. And then we're going to raise your taxes by that amount moving forward. If you don't want us to do that, do a better job taking care of your customers.
Yeah, you know how you guys like to isolate your grid and you say it's too expensive to connect them up? Well, guess what? We just found $40 billion. We were going to use it on something else, but we figured out that was stupid. So now we're actually going to improve our country.
I think Texas doesn't want their grid on it with everybody else's, which is insane to me. But
well, it's because they can charge more. They can make more
their power
profit.
company is extremely corrupt.
Yeah, I think it's another monopoly
Yeah.
type of situation. And we all know that the electric vehicle world is not doing well. I've seen a lot of cope headlines about that, where people are just like, oh, this is all just politics. But I think it's actually that people are realizing that, number one, they can't afford them. Number two, the cost to ownership is a little bit higher than they expected. So they're going to stick with what they've got.
The Reuters headline is Tesla is doing damage control and discounts for European fleet buyers. So part of this is that if you were a European customer and you bought a fleet of these for your EV, Tesla...
You lease them. That's the important part.
Yeah, Tesla's bending over backwards now, more than they were, I guess, to help you find parts and mechanics to work on them, because that was Hertz's big problem. Like, it wasn't necessarily that like they were worse, it's that no one knew how to work on them. Getting parts was impossible, and the parts were way more expensive than anticipated.
And when you lease, the residual value of the car is a big important part of that. So they bought these cars maybe 4 years ago thinking, oh, Teslas have a ton of residual value, right? Not anymore. Now they have very, very little, and it's going down instead of going up. So bad news if you bought 200 of them.
I mean, it's kind of like the old, if you look at a mechanical hard drive or a cathode ray tube, that technology is a lot more complicated. But for a long time, those technologies were cheaper than their solid state counterparts. Well, mechanical hard drives still are cheaper. It's like, here's some etched sand versus this incredible marvel of micromechanical engineering. And it's like, which one of these should be cheaper than the other? And it's like, well, it turns out.
Yeah, turns out they were all wrong. They all made the wrong decision.
On a long enough timeline, Volkswagen and Renault have ended talks to develop an affordable electric vehicle, sources say. The time isn't right, they say. Or they were sabotaged by the internal combustion industry. I don't know.
Well, the internal combustion
I could go for
industry
either.
is also not selling cars.
Yeah.
It's a consumer problem, I think, not so much all the other things, because no one is buying cars.
The average U.S. vehicle age hits a record 12.6 years as high prices force people to keep them longer. Yeah.
Would have been me. If not for a certain tree.
Oh, yeah, you're in the minority who's
I am
actually
now.
buying. Oh, you didn't buy new, though.
No, it's not new. New to me.
Are you crazy? Buy a new car in
I've
this economy?
never bought a new car. It's always been used.
Well, if you want a new PC, or specifically a laptop, and you want it to be really new, really, really new, as in new technology, then the time has come for you.
Microsoft announces an ARM-powered Surface laptop, which is going to be totally different than the Surface X from years ago. We promise, like for real. It's going to be different.
Believe us this time.
It's really going to be different.
We put AI in the description.
It does actually look like it's different, but we'll see.
They are, of course, trying to steal the thunder of Apple, who did the same exact thing. How many years ago?
What's funny though, because the Surface X beat Apple to the Arm punch, and they all want to forget about that because it was trash.
And Apple did have some growing pains. And one of the big things about adopting ARM that you might not be thinking about is that a lot of your apps are not going to be rewritten for ARM, at least not for a while. You're going to need emulation. Apple famously figured it out. Can Microsoft?
Microsoft says that its Prism translation layer does for ARM PCs what Rosetta did for Macs, according to Ars Technica. But again, the only people that have gone hands-on with these have done so in a very limited fashion. So the jury is out.
But they do have some benchmarking for us, and they claim that this is not just going to be a work PC.
This headline, which I believe is worthless, Microsoft demos Baldur's Gate 3 and Borderlands running at 30 FPS on the new Snapdragon X Elite Windows on ARM platform with auto super resolution support in tow. This is not useful. This is not useful as a headline because we don't really know any of the details, and Baldur's Gate 3 will run on an absolute potato at 30 FPS.
But importantly, Microsoft might be looking at that to replace the chips in their consoles, which would be much cheaper.
They need graphics horsepower, like graphics IP. So if they did that, it would have to be with AMD's blessing. As long as AMD makes a lot of money, I don't think they really care.
Listen, we're not going to be actually rendering any lighting or anything from now on. We're just going to let the AI imagine it, just hallucinate it. We'll take whatever it gives us.
This doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
Microsoft reveals PCs with AI capabilities. So yeah, these Snapdragon CPUs here, they're the first ones to have this, even though there is AI acceleration in both Intel and AMD processors. This is the first one to get Copilot plus PC. They also unveiled this thing which is already in Windows Insider, where Microsoft just takes screenshots of literally everything that you do and then feeds it to the AI.
That's the software section.
Okay.
Hardware.
Yeah.
And speaking of hardware, Samsung is maybe trying to copy Apple here. Because remember when Samsung was like, hey guys, we're joining the right to repair movement. And everybody was like, really? Is that going to work out? Well, guess what?
Samsung requires independent repair shops to share customer data and snitch on people who use aftermarket parts, a leaked contract shows.
Whoever designed 404 never designed for a headline this long. That's driving me crazy, and I'm not the person who designed it.
Well, we do have a pretty small window here.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically they did everything they can. And if I sorted correctly...
This seems anti-competitive.
Only because it is.
No, I did not sort correctly.
Oh.
I must have put that in another section for some reason. But if you are a follower of the stock market, you've certainly heard about this because this stock is basically controlling the market at this point. It's everything when it comes to the American economy.
Nvidia stock tops 9%, or it pops 9%, and tops $1,000 after earnings beat and forecasts. And they announced a 10-to-1 stock split as well as a dividend hike. So, yeah, again, what does Nvidia need with all this worthless old money? They should spread it around to cement their position in the market instead. It's a bold move.
And space calling, we all know that is almost here, and maybe more than just almost.
SpaceX demos cellular Starlink powering a video call between two phones.
That's probably good. The surveillance aspect of it is worrying.
Yeah.
This creates an opportunity to put a camera literally anywhere, even temporarily.
So you're saying there's a chance we might get footage of Bigfoot finally?
There's always a chance, right?
There's always a chance. I want to believe.
Well, HP believes in rebranding. I think they want people to forget some of the recent stuff that they've done.
HP resurrects the 90s OmniBook branding and kills the Spectre and Dragonfly.
Not much to get excited about with HP laptops. Well, there is something to get excited about in terms of converting your brain into the metaverse, literally, right?
Neuralink to test brain implant on second patient. So the first patient, it went well.
For a while.
It didn't go exactly according to plan. A lot of the tendrils pulled out of his brain, apparently. But they were able to redo the software and still provide some functionality, even though, 15% of the connections remained.
Mostly it seemed to just slow it down.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Like, it didn't lose a ton of functionality. It sounded to me, did you get the impression that patient number 1 was like, hey guys, let's get these tendrils back in here. And they were just like, yeah, we're kind of done with you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Oh, we kind of spoiled this.
I think we've covered this before.
85% of Neuralink implant wires are already detached, says patient.
This is May 21st. I think
This was an update to
We
the
didn't-
story we did last week.
I don't think we knew the extent of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
And it's like, hey, can we do another surgery? And it's like, no, we can't do more surgery. We're going to do more harm than good if we do more
His
surgery.
brain might
But he's
swell.
like, guys, I'm not playing. What was the game that he was playing?
Civ.
Like the Civ games are really slowing down. Can we get these tendrils back in? I'm like, oh, yeah, we've moved on from you. Patient number 2 is ready.
It's kind of dark.
Yeah.
Here, why did I put this in this section? Hardware, I guess. I
I'm not
missorted
sure,
this.
yeah.
But we already talked about it. But this is a great article and a long one. Was this
Yeah.
the one that was like 18 pages?
Yeah, it reads like a one of those noir pulp novels where it's just like whodunit.
Yeah.
That's interesting because when you got JavaScript turns off, it paginates it. And when you don't, it auto-aligns it. Not bad, Ars Technica. But you should go read this and just get angry.
Municipal broadband advocates are fighting off attacks from dark money groups. Yes, this is true. I noticed some of you in the comments were saying, oh, the municipal thing turned into a boondoggle, blah, blah, blah. There is a lot of money being spent to actively sabotage municipal broadband in creative and interesting ways because it is a threat to some other company's bottom line. And this level of Machiavellianism, I think most people are not prepared to think about when they're thinking about something as pedestrian as like their ISP.
So, the Domestic Policy Caucus. What is that? What would that? This sounds like maybe something good,
They're
right?
very against you having any form of fiber optic internet if it doesn't go through one of the incumbents and it doesn't cost $300 a month.
And there are a bunch of these listed here. It seems like every cable company has at least one 501c that they use as the arm of like funding all of this darkness. And they do all these crazy attack ads and stuff like that. And
You want to dig up your neighborhood and make it look awful? Yes, because that's a one-time thing, and then
Yeah.
we're done for a century.
Well, they've been doing like construction on our road, and yeah, it's annoying, and yeah, it's ugly, but it's like I like having water and electricity at my house, so I'll deal with that for a season.
And the magic of those entities is that you don't have to reveal who donated. And you don't have any of the inspection stuff that you do if you had an actual like political entity or whatever.
Who is spending all this money to try to warn me of the dangers of this turning into a municipal broadband boondoggle? Like, who would be motivated to spend money on a TV ad to do that? It's weird.
It's literally the same mechanism that lets us be spied upon every moment of our day. Like that being legal and us having bad internet are the same function. And we could stop it, presumably, if we had leadership that was motivated. But what we cannot stop, it seems, is Windows just jamming AI into
Who asked for
every
this?
crack. It's literally just leaking out of the side of your monitor at this point.
Windows now has AI-powered copy and paste. This is interesting though because there was somebody I think I saw on Twitter that posted an Ansible role for something that Red Hat was doing, and it's like, hey, I need an Ansible role that's like this for Ubuntu instead of Red Hat. And it was like, okay, here you go. So they copied the role to their clipboard and then just said, I need to transform this for a different underlying Linux distro, and it did it.
Can move between languages, can move between formats and stuff like that. Certainly convenient. I think I would rather just go through the extra steps of running it through the prompt rather than having this thing listening at all times to my clipboard. But listening at all times is the way that we're going. We also got a couple of new interesting Windows features. This Microsoft's big thing was last week, so we got all these new things they're rolling out for Windows 11.
Microsoft is making File Explorer more powerful with version control and 7-zip compression. Basically, it's going to understand Git repositories finally. It's weird, though, because they still have neutered shadow copy. Shadow copy still doesn't work as well as it used to in Windows 7.
We won't be needing that anymore because there will be a much darker shadow, and it will hang over everything that you do, not just your file system.
With Recall, Microsoft is using AI to fix Windows' eternally broken search.
That's the paid for headline, I'm assuming, right? Because they don't mention anything. Like, how does Engadget not at least engage on the whole idea that maybe this is going to be bad? Like, maybe this is just constant surveillance.
Let me put it to you another way. Microsoft can't resist the temptation to take money to put Candy Crush in your start menu when it doesn't belong there. How do you think they're going to be able to resist the temptation to just delve into this archive of literally everything you have ever used the computer for? Like, why do you think they're not going to be able to, like, really? Like, do you trust them to do that but not, like, you have all the evidence of all the stuff they're doing with Bing, with Explorer, with the start menu, and you have this history of all the, like, really? Okay.
Now, we know that the one thing that I can guarantee, Level 1 predicts, this is going to result in huge payments to many European Union countries. Will the American lawmakers do anything here, though? That's the big question.
Microsoft's new AI recall feature could already be in legal trouble, at least in the European Union, on laptops that have it.
They claim that you'll be able to turn that off. Do you trust that?
Never.
Like 1%. They're going to turn that back on with every update.
Maybe you can turn it off for a while and then they turn it back on.
You
But
mean how,
maybe
like,
not even that.
how like you install Windows and it's like, I would like to turn off ads, and it's like, oh, you can have relevant ads
I don't want any ads ever.
or other ads. It won't change how many ads you see. It's just they're going to be more or less relevant.
They've also promised that the AI recall will only ever be stored on your machine and never exfiltrated. I also don't believe that.
Yeah, again, how will they resist the monetary temptation given that they literally have been unable to resist even more pedestrian monetary temptations?
Yeah. It's like, the meat is in the pan and not once have they waited till it cooled before they grabbed it.
It's already in their mouth.
Yeah.
They're burning their mouth.
They're
off.
covered in it's 3rd-degree burns and they don't care because they love that delicious data. And Google also loves that delicious data. And of course, all of that is going to be used to serve us ads.
Google search's new AI overviews will soon have ads.
I just, like, the more I read about what they're doing, the more I'm like, are you just trying to kill it? Like, just put it in the graveyard already if you don't want to use it.
No, I think this will be great. When you search for pizza dough, it's like, I would like to thicken up my pizza dough. And it says, you could try some non-toxic glue for that. There's a link to Elmer's glue. I think Elmer's would love that. I think Google would love that. They're all going to make some money. It's great.
I hate the future.
Well, what's not great is the experience on the internet in any possible way. It's awful. It's getting worse. And the parts that you might remember that were good, they're not there anymore.
38% of web pages that existed in 2013 are no longer accessible a decade later. Yeah, that's
Well,
such is life on the internet.
it's sad too, though, because like there's a lot of stuff now that would have been on like a forum or a website even like 5 or 6 years ago, but now it's all just moved to Discord servers
And it's just gone forever.
and it's gone forever. Yeah, you'll never find it again.
One of my favorite things that they point out here is there's a lot of news stories from major news publications that embedded tweets.
Oh, and
And
they're
a
all gone.
Massive number of those accounts have been deleted. The whole world is just going to become Snapchat. You talk and then it just goes away.
That's so interesting. Like, we have so much capacity to get information and store it and remember things, like, more so than ever before, but it's all just going to disappear. Anthropology is going to be a weird
What a great
field eventually.
That's a great lead in, because when you think about people who are making a lot of money storing data out there and keeping it, who do you think of first?
Amazon.
And oddly enough, the trouble that they're in now is about not keeping data.
Amazon has told the court in response to the FTC's complaints about using Signal for messages because they can be encrypted and disappear forever. There's nothing to see here. We're not doing anything nefarious. We just like that our messages disappear after time, so they can't be taken out of context later. We don't need to archive those.
They actually made the argument. So the FTC said, we got all this stuff from them, but not a single Signal message, or at least none that were, anything real. But we know they all have Signal accounts, so we think that they're not giving us everything. Their argument was, if we didn't give it to you, then that proves it doesn't exist.
Neat.
And the consolidation of our newspapers, I think this is the one I was thinking about in terms of, like, it really is just a couple of companies who control all of the information.
IGN scoops up Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, and more. I didn't know that website acquisition as a growth strategy was still a thing. I thought that stopped like 6 or 7 years ago.
Everybody's angling for those OpenAI contracts. Oh, you want to train on all these years worth of data? Well, guess what we got?
Oh, and how the mighty have fallen.
Not resonating is the theme of this week, and I don't think that anything is resonating here.
Overwatch PvE mode dropped after just 3 months because there was only 12 players.
I didn't know. There was another story related to this in this article that was like, new hero drop. And I was like, I've not even heard about that. And I used to know all the stuff about Overwatch. What a sad day. It used to be such a fun game.
It's amazing how quickly they destroyed it.
Yeah, just...
And over in India, things are getting real weird with their political situation. I know it's weird here too, but boy, do we have some crazy stories from India. And the social media companies love being in the Indian market, but they're never quite sure where to go in terms of the censorship.
The Meta had actually approved political ads in India that incited violence, and then you dig into it, and it's like these were okay. This is a Guardian article.
They were pretty egregious. This is Hindu versus Muslim stuff. And some of these ads were like literally calling for blood, like saying that.
Yeah, like not even subtle.
Yeah. Somehow that got through the Meta screeners. And TikTok, they have to be worried for their future. For once, they're going to have to try to innovate toward the other companies rather than every other company chasing what they've been doing.
TikTok tests 60-minute videos expanding into YouTube's territory.
Didn't Vine do this before the end as well?
Yeah.
They all seem to open it up.
Even Tumblr.
Yeah. Tumblr's still around. It's kicking, barely, but it's like a weird little corner of the internet that feels like it's 10 years old.
Not everybody gets that. Only the, super influencers right now. But I guess they're going to roll it out if it's popular. And Elon Musk continues to try and do something different over at Twitter. You're a Twitter user. How do you feel about this?
I don't care.
Let's do the headline.
The headline is X confirms plans to make likes private, removes likes tab from profiles. I don't really use this feature. I guess people could see what you've liked, but this would hide it. And so I guess you could like things that are controversial.
And people will come after you.
Yeah.
So if you like something that they don't like, they will try to target you.
What's weird is that they have that as a paid feature right now. I don't know why they wouldn't keep that as a value add if you're a paying user.
Because I think they're worried that somebody's going to get killed and they're going to get sued. We're probably not aware of the level of problem that this is causing that they are.
Or Elon's just upset because someone got mad at something he liked. So
yeah, this struck me as Elon Musk thinking to himself, that it's not part of the popular zeitgeist to like this thing, but I think most people actually do like this thing, but they won't like it because then people can see that they like it. So let's do an experiment where we take away, you can like it and it'll contribute to the likes, but no one can see which people liked it. And I think that'll change the dynamic of what is and is not liked on the platform.
That's definitely true. The more you go into censorship, which we are, boy, we're deep into it, people will self-censor just to not have any controversy.
Yeah.
Which is sad. And we have a couple of design stories this week.
We do.
And this one seems a little egregious.
Yeah.
The Delta Emulator is changing its logo after Adobe threatened it. It's like, it looks like the Greek letter Delta. It's like,
I kind of get Adobe's side here because as someone who uses a lot of Adobe products, like as soon as I saw that purple one, I was like, that's just the Adobe logo, but purple.
They changed it to that.
That is funny.
Probably got them more press.
Yeah,
than they
I
could
wouldn't have
ever
known
hoped
about
for.
this if not for, so.
That might have been a brilliant marketing move right there. And I guess I've not noticed this.
I got this week.
You'll notice it when it happens to you.
It is annoying.
YouTube seems to be once again rolling out its widely hated new design, where the comments are very small in the right column, and then it's just a giant grid of videos.
Yeah, they want you to obviously just be browsing related videos, and like it's really annoying because I like to read the comments.
Yeah, I do hate that. I haven't gotten this yet.
And the comments, like a lot of times they're not auto expanded either. So it's like they don't want you to look at that.
You know, this is kind of a wild idea, but on a site that makes as much money and is as large and complicated as YouTube, why don't you, and it forces users to be logged in, why don't you give users the option to choose
Give them a couple
which
different
layout
layouts,
they
yeah.
like? Just throw that out there.
They've figured out that this layout causes more of the TikTok effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought they were aiming for. They didn't say, I think, in this article why. Like, YouTube was just like, no, we're just testing it. It'll be fine. And
So what we need to do every week is
really
release
good.
about 230 shorts, so that every individual article that we comment on is its own video.
ugh.
That is what the algorithm demands.
And then put them in a giant playlist that scrolls with those shorts. So then people are like, when they get bored of 1 minute, it's like, I don't care about this, and just keep going. Because that's the consumer these days.
I'm not made for the modern web. Anyway, with that thought, that's it for this episode. We'll be back on Friday with nonsense.
A lot of fun nonsense coming.
Bye!